I want to start in here today and talk about something that really is a core thing that can impact our marriage relationships, especially. We hear often, we've talked about this 50% divorce rate that we have in our Western world today, and one of the reasons that we often hear given for that is the reason for our divorce was financial difficulties. And I want to talk about that because what it really boils down to is the reason for the divorce was not the financial difficulties. The reason was that we didn't have our relationship built on a firm footing so that we had a proper understanding of the role that the finances will play in that relationship, and so that we were not equipped with the principles and tools that it took us to be able to deal with the hard times that came because we had some financial challenges. And so maybe those things came because we didn't understand finances. Maybe we went out and got into too much consumer spending and consumer debt and ended up with a giant credit card problem. And those kind of things can have a serious impact on things because they bring friction into our lives. When you've got debt collectors calling you all the time, it brings friction into your marriage potentially, because it's a real easy thing for us to go off and react improperly to, and those sort of things. Another thing where finances may be a problem is maybe one party or the other doesn't feel like that we're earning the kind of money that we need to earn to live the lifestyle we want. And the lifestyle becomes so important that we miss out on this connection of the relationship, and the vastly more important component is the relationship itself. And so we let things like that come in and impact us, and finances just happens to be one of the biggest ones. There are actually several other things that could be listed as reasons for divorce that really aren't the reason. They're the issue that triggered the poor relationship to spiral down the toilet. And that's why what we're teaching is so critical, because we're trying to help people understand that if they get those principles and dynamics of the way relationships work and balance in their life, and they build on that, that something as challenging as a massive financial difficulty won't destroy the relationship. Now, it can cause a lot of other heartache and pain that goes along with that, but if we have two people in a relationship working together, then we understand that team can be way stronger in the face of a financial crisis than that team split into two feuding sides in a divorce situation. So that's just, again, it's another great illustrator of why the principles that we teach here are so important, because it goes back. I did a video here on the dynamics of an argument, and it goes back to that discussion in there that the issue that starts the argument is really not what the issue that the argument's all about. It's just the trigger. And that's the way that financial problems are in our relationship that could lead to the divorce, is they're not really the issue. They're the trigger that exposes all of our weakness in our ability to have a good relationship with each other. And so they trigger it off, and because we are still functioning on default mode in that blueprint-driven interaction with each other, we get into arguments and fights, and you said this and you said this, and no, it's not my fault, it's your fault, and all of those kind of things. And we end up splitting apart over it because we haven't equipped ourselves to function properly in a relationship. So there are many different things like that. Now, I've still got another 5 minutes to go on this one, so I'm going to throw out another piece here that's semi-related to this, and it can be a real touchy subject, but I want you to think about it, and I want you, if it comes across offensive at first, I want you to stop and say, no, I'm not going to be offended, I'm going to think about this. Now, we see in our society all the time divorces that happen because one or the other spouse ran off with somebody else and had a relationship outside the marriage. And there's a lot of weird thinking in our society right now that might say that that's okay, but I don't go there. It's not. It's damaging to your relationship. And when that happens, let's say that the husband runs off with his secretary at work, or vice versa. That secretary may have been a wife to somebody else and they ran off with the boss. Okay? When that happens in our society, our immediate response to that is to condemn the person who did the running off and committed the adultery. And that's correct. They did a wrong thing. And it's their fault that they made a stupid decision to do that. But what we have to do, and this is my critical point here at this juncture, is the offended party, the spouse that stayed home, for instance, we've got to look at what role, if any, did you play in not having a strong enough relationship at home that would cause the spouse to be open to an outside person coming into their lives and taking him off there. Now, did I say it was your fault? No. And that's a critical thing where most people want to throw this argument out the window, because that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying here goes back to the concept of common denominators. And if you have a relationship once where this happened, and there might be some role that you played in making the spouse want to look elsewhere for fulfillment, and let's say then that ends in a divorce, and you go on down the road and want to try fixing and starting another, getting married again and try to have a great relationship there, what if you carried that same weakness over into the new relationship, which is likely to happen because it's a blueprint driven thing that we didn't understand. If we carry it over to a new relationship, maybe it won't cause exactly the same result, but can it keep you from having the caliber of relationship that you want? And that's why I really think we need to talk about this. It's that common denominators idea. And so, yes, while the person who did actually commit the sin or the crime or whatever you want to call it out there, well, they are responsible for their actions 100%, and they need to be. We also need to look at it and say, wow, is there something I could have done that contributed to that happening? Or is there something I could learn and could have changed that could have drawn them back from that situation? That some place where they weren't being fulfilled that I could have fulfilled for them, as I should have been doing, that I didn't understand. And that's the core of that question. And like I said, this is a subject that can be really hard and maybe seem really harsh to some people, especially if you're in the middle of that situation right now. But I don't want it to be that way. I simply want it to be a point for us to ponder on and say, was I missing some of these relationship principles that these guys are trying to teach me here that could have prevented that from happening and could have kept me in a happy, productive, ongoing relationship where I should have been? And that's the kind of things that we have to look at all the way through things. And hopefully we're looking at that before it even approaches that position where it gets that critical. Because if we're doing it then we can work on getting the underlying principles correct so that the relationship grows and grows and grows and is a beautiful, happy relationship. So I think that's kind of the two key points I wanted to make right there. I'm going to cut this one off here, give you some ponder time. See ya. Bye.